Hey everyone, this is Isaac Loveday here. If you don't know me, I am the youth worship leader here at BCC. It is so nice to meet you. Today, Jeremy is sick and Kim asked me to talk a little bit about my testimony. So if you've got a Bible, I challenge you to pause this video and to go grab one. We're going to be looking at the book of Jonah because that's really what I feel like my story and my testimony relates to most. So hopefully you've got a Bible. So I'm going to read a couple verses of Jonah chapter 1 just to get us started. The Lord gave this message to Jonah. Get up and go to the great city of Nineveh. Announce my judgment against it, because I have seen how wicked its people are. But Jonah got up and went to the opposite direction to get away from the Lord. He went down to the port of Joppa, where he found a ship leaving for Tarshish. He bought a ticket and went on board, hoping to escape from the Lord by sailing to Tarshish. But the Lord hurled a powerful wind over the sea, causing a violent storm that threatened to break the ship apart. I'm going to stop there because I imagine that a lot of us are familiar with the story of Jonah. So, like I said before, my name is Isaac, and I was born and raised in the state of Tennessee. I was born in a town called Knoxville, but I grew up in a small town right next to it called Sevierville. And this is where I've spent my first 21 years of my life. But I would say that my story relates similar to the story of Jonah because I feel like God was telling me what to do with my life throughout my whole entire childhood. And I just choose to ignore it. And I started to run away from it. So I was blessed to have been born into a family that was very serious about the relationships with Christ. Anytime the door was open, we were at the church, and I'm so incredibly thankful for that. As a result of that, I gave my life to Christ at a very young age at VBS. And I would say that I was definitely saved at that time, but whenever I got to middle school, things started to shift, and I wasn't that innocent little boy that had accepted Christ at VBS. I would say that I was the exact opposite when I got to middle school. In middle school, I always loved playing the sport of basketball, and I got introduced to a lot of people on the basketball team that were not following Christ, and I'd say they influenced me a great ton. My youth pastor all the time growing up always said that you are who you hang around, and I definitely became who I was hanging around. So throughout middle school, that really was me. I was that guy that didn't look at all like a Christian. But it came to my freshman year, and at my church, we always did a summer camp. Just like Summer Life that we went to this past year at Liberty, we used to always go to a camp down in Panama City Beach, Florida. And that my freshman year, I rededicated my life to Christ as a freshman. Then the next year I went on great. I was following Christ. I was being an example. I was leading others to Christ. And then I gave my call to ministry, my call for full-time ministry, my sophomore year of high school. So high school kind of flew by, really for me. I really enjoyed high school. It was probably one of my favorite years so far in my life. And I was a witness for Christ for the rest of the 3 years that I was in high school. After that, I went to a community college, and I studied. My major was general, because I knew that I wanted to work at a church, because I'd given my call to ministry. The reason why I went to a community college, in the state of Tennessee, you can actually get 2 free years of community college for free. So that's why I went to a community college, just to save a couple extra bucks. And then I transferred to a college called Johnson University. And I was there for 3 years. So my major there was preaching and youth ministry. So during this time, I actually worked at a church, and I was a youth intern. Um, and this taught me a lot about what youth was about. That's exactly what I thought I wanted to do at this point in my life. I thought I wanted to be a youth pastor, over 7th and 8th grade or through high school. And this is really the beating of my heart. I thought this is really what I wanted. I mean, my major was about youth ministry. And through this job, I really feel like that God got a hold of me. And over the next 2 years, I was really trying to pursue youth ministry, and eventually my internship ran out in 2 years. So I lost my job at the church. And at that point, I was really, really burnt out on ministry. I know that's pretty hard to think of. You've only been in ministry for 2 years. But I feel like I was just extremely burnt out for a couple of other reasons as well. But I went to work at a apple orchard that was local. And the reason why that I did this is because I wanted to run away from ministry. It wasn't really, given my call to ministry when I was younger, but I don't think that I really knew exactly what that entailed, what that was, or how difficult it was going to be. So I went to something completely opposite in the realm. So ministry, you'd think, is extremely brain dependent. But I would say that the apple orchard that I went to work at was extremely not brain dependent at all, and more of my weak and non-developing muscles. But through this time that I worked at apple orchard, God really got a hold of me and really showed me why I was really here on this earth. During that time, I was at Johnson, and they challenged me and told me that I had to do a internship. And me being the person that I am, I never really liked school. I was always smart, but I never applied myself. So I was like, so there's this residency thing, and this residency thing, I could skip 6 months and be there another 6 months and not have to take 4 classes in the classroom, but I could just do a residency program. So that's what I did. I took a residency with a church in St. Louis. And this residency had to be in student ministry. So my boss there at the time was like, hey, we really need this student worship leader. And I was like, okay, I played a couple instruments. My parents had always told me to play the piano and to practice my piano, that I took lessons for. I just starting to learn guitar because I'd seen all the worship leaders were playing their guitar and singing. So I told him I would do it, but I didn't know how it was going to turn out. And that's really through the next year, God really got a hold of me and told me that I had gifts that I wasn't using, that He had equipped me with. And so I combined both of them, and I love my love for youth and my love for music. And I took this job here at Burke, which ultimately really is my dream job, to be able to work with youth and to be able to play music with them as well. So you could say that the story of Jonah is running away from God, and eventually God gets a hold of him and tells him what to do, and Jonah follows. I would like to think that I'm in the same way, that I ran away from God for a long time about what my calling was. I gave my call to ministry my sophomore year of high school, but after that I really kind of ran away and kind of did what I wanted to do. I don't know if there's anybody listening that is the same way. I don't know if there's this one thing that God has got a hold of you, and He's telling you, or He's showing you what that is, that He has a plan for your life. And you are like me, and you're extremely neglectant, and you're throwing up barriers and saying, yeah, there's no way. God didn't give me that gift, or He's not telling me to do that, because that's not what I want to do, or that's not what everybody else wants me to do. But I want to challenge you to take some time and to pray about what that is. For me, God got a hold of me through a 1-year residency halfway across the country for me. Hopefully it's not that drastic with you. But if it is, God will get a hold of you, and hopefully you listen. It's been a pleasure to spend a little time with you talking about my testimony. So Kim also asked me to share something that God is teaching me during this pandemic. And I would say that God is teaching me more about patience. This is something that I think is extremely vital for me. I just love to soak up anything about patience. So whenever Marty started his series in the book of Psalms, I was like, hey, that'd be a really cool thing to study. So I started reading the Psalms as well. And it was a couple days ago that I got to the book of Psalms, chapter 40. And chapter 40 has really been challenging me in my walk with Christ. So I'm going to read a couple verses from Psalms 40 so we can talk about them. Psalms 40, verse 1. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he turned to me and heard my cry for help. If you, in my Bible, you flip the page, verse 5. Lord, my God, you have done many things. Your wonderful works and your plans for us. None can compare with you. If I were to report and speak of them, there are more than can be told. Man, isn't that so true? Verse 16 and verse 17, same chapter. Let all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. Let those who love your salvation continually say, the Lord is great. I am afflicted and needy. The Lord thinks of me. You are my help and my deliverer. My God, do not delay. I think patience is extremely vital in our walk with Christ. If we can be patient, then people come to us when they're struggling, and we can share our testimonies. So verse 16 and verse 17 are really what have challenged me over the past couple of days. So I'm going to read them again, and then, so verse 16. Let all who seek you rejoice and be glad in you. Let those who love your salvation continually say, the Lord is great. I am afflicted and needy. The Lord thinks of me. You are my help and my deliverer. My God, do not delay. These two verses have really been challenging me because I don't know if that's the echo of my heart. That in the midst of trial, in the midst of COVID, that I can say that the Lord is great. When I see so much hurt, so much distress around me, that I can, that's the echo of my heart to say that the Lord is great. Verse 17, I'm afflicted and needy. The Lord thinks of me. You are my help and my deliverer. My God, do not delay. That makes me think of a really old song. Funny enough, I actually sang it in this past week's live stream. It's called Always. This is one of my favorite songs, and in the bridge it talks about, or in the chorus, sorry, it says, oh my God, you will not delay, my help and strength always. I think God's really been intertwining that song, but also these verses to teach me about patience, that he's always there. It doesn't matter what I do, doesn't matter if I have the patience or if I don't have the patience, that God is always there, and he's welcomed me with open arms. So I talked about my live stream that we've been doing. If you haven't tuned into any of those, if you just go to YouTube and you type in my name, Isaac Loveday, you'll see a couple of live streams there, but we are continually doing those once a week on Sunday at 7. Hopefully, I'll see you there. If not, I hope you guys have an awesome week. I'll see you guys later.